Press Secretary Scott McClellan. This is live coverage on C-SPAN 3.
Do you have any reason to believe that Mr. Libby himself was involved in that effort to get himself exonerated?
Yes, I do. We spoke earlier that week. I believe it was the Wednesday of that week when I told Scooter Libby that I was not going to go down a list of White House aides and start trying to exonerate them now that the investigation was officially underway. And he expressed his appreciation that I let him know that. But I think that as his name continued to surface, he certainly was behind that effort to make sure that I exonerated him. And I later saw public documents with his handwriting putting down some talking points that I should use. Now, I never saw those talking points myself until they came out in the press.
Now, you mentioned several people that were leaking Valerie Plame's name all over town. Do you have reason to believe this was a coordinated effort?
Well, I don't know for sure. There's certainly at least three White House aides that revealed her identity to reporters. But I don't know personally whether it was a concerted effort. I was deputy press secretary at the time, and so I was not involved in any of that effort, if there was.
Now, it seemed to me that in response, whether or not individuals might have been involved with the leaking of the name, administration seemed to leave a clear impression that Valerie Plame was fair game in the debate over Mr. Wilson's information. And it seemed to leave the impression that anyone who, in effect, told the truth, thereby criticizing the administration effort to get us into war, might reasonably expect problems, including having the lives of their family members put in jeopardy. Was that an intentional impression?
Well, I certainly think that for at least some people that she became just another talking point in this effort to discredit her husband, Joe Wilson. Whether or not I could characterize it before that, I would hesitate to characterize it more than that.
Well, she was a covert CIA agent, was she not?
That's right.
And revealing her identity could reasonably be expected to jeopardize her life. Is that not true?
It is a serious matter, and as I said in my opening statement, it was wrong. Whether or not it was criminal, it was certainly wrong because of her covert national security status.
And did it not leave the impression with people that family members' lives may be in jeopardy if you tell the truth about this, what's going on?
You mean people that were involved in revealing her identity?
Right.
I can't speak for them, but they should have been more careful about it, that's for sure.
Another piece of information that was involved in the run-up of the war was what the war would cost. I serve on the Budget Committee in addition to the Judiciary Committee. I was serving on the Budget Committee at the time, and we were told to ignore the cost of the war because it would be so negligible as not worthy of Budget Committee consideration. Are you aware of that testimony?
I don't know if I'm familiar with that specific testimony, but I'm certainly aware that we left the impression that it would be less costly and for a shorter duration than what has happened.
The present estimates of the total cost of the war are now $3 trillion. What information did the administration have that could have led us to believe, if we'd gotten truthful information, that the cost of the war would be significant?
Well, certainly I recount in the book a conversation that Larry Lindsey had, making some projections in September of 2006 or 2002, I believe, informing a reporter that he thought it might cost somewhere between 100 and 200 billion, which at the time everybody seemed to think was high, and now we realize that even that estimate was considerably low.
And what happened to him and his estimates?
Well, he left the administration a few months later.
Was he fired?
He resigned, but my understanding that he was asked to leave as well.
So we find that his estimate was truthful, honest, candid, and turns out to be even optimistic that it could only cost $100 to $150 billion. And he was fired for telling the truth.
That's correct. It's not something that we wanted to discuss at the White House.
Now, we had a similar situation with a Medicare estimate. The prescriptive drug benefit cost administration officials knew that the number we were working with was not the correct number, that the number was actually higher. Is that right?
I guess there was a different estimate between Congressional Budget Office and the Medicare actuaries, if I remember correctly.
And what
my brother might be better to testify for that.
What happened to the administration official that had that accurate information, and was he threatened if he revealed it before?
I understand that, yes, the administrator at the time, I understand from public records, that something along those lines did happen, if I remember correctly.
Now, is this a pattern that people who tell the truth get sanctioned?
Well, as I say in the book, I think that we have not embraced a high level of openness. This is a very secretive White House that tends to be pretty compartmentalized and very disciplined in terms of what message or talking points they put out there, and there's some things that they would prefer not to be talked about, and I think that's what you're getting at.
Well, I was wondering what you were getting at. I mean,
yeah.
You're at.
Well, yes, both of us, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. McClellan, is there a clarification that you'd like to make about a discussion we had earlier?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. There was a comment made earlier, and I would like to clarify the record. There's a quote attributed to one of my editors, Carl Weber, describing the president as a clearly horrible person. Actually, that was a comment that was made by his daughter, and his daughter's name is on that post that is on the family blog site. Irregardless, the views and conclusions in the book are